TEDxYouth at Bangalore East. TEDxYouth is a celebration of the indomitable spirit of the youth, of enthusiastic participation, of motivation, of initiative, of inspired feet and myriad perspective. TEDx created in the spirit of TED mission, ideas worth spreading, supports independent organizers to create a TED-like event. Inspired by this notion, TEDxYouth at Bangalore East was visualized, conceptualized and hosted by students for the first time last session. The enterprising students have blossomed, and I am delighted to share that it is their fruitful effort which has given form to today's event. It is their evident spirit and dedicated focus that has helped in planning and execution of this program. It gives me immense pleasure to have amongst us the august company of the luminaries who have carved a niche in their field of expertise. We have Mr. Sandipan Chattopadhyay, the tech brain behind moneycontrol.com and the Ms. Shavi Yadav, a 21-year-old artist from Delhi, India's only English music show. A warm welcome to Shavi. Dr. Soumya Goyal, a physiotherapist by profession. She loves traveling and she with two of her friends who drove all the way from Delhi to London in 97 days. Warm welcome to Dr. Soumya. Vikas Paul, a chartered accountant by profession. Warm welcome to you, Mr. Paul. We have a fifth speaker who is on her way, is still not reached here, Riya Nalwade, an upcoming actress and a graceful dancer. And most important of all, she is an ex-student of our university. She will be here in a short while. I'm confident that today's event will provide a unique opportunity to the student to savor the journey of struggle to success of our eminent speakers. The tales of their lives could be an invigorating force guiding our students. The myriad perspective they provide could be their beacon in life. I indeed feel a sense of gratification in witnessing the program this day. The time has now come to widen the horizon of our perspective. Let's enthuse over the priceless words of astral speakers. A warm welcome to my dear students. Hope you take back valuable lessons for life from here today. God bless you.
Thank you, ma'am. We would now like to call upon Geeta Moni to give us an insight into today's event.
A very good afternoon to all the marvelous people gathered before me. A grateful smile lights up my face when I invite you to TEDxYouth at Bangalore East, the crux of my school. Life is a long and treacherous journey. Sometimes we come across obstacles on this path, and when we don't trust ourselves, we slip into a spiral, a downward spiral, a spiral of expectations and failures, and then more failures, until we slowly sink into this point where we forget who we are. We doubt what we're capable of. We forget all those exams we aced, all those prizes we had won, all those demons we had destroyed. We focus on that one little failure. We don't believe in ourselves. There are 3 steps out of this spiral. We start to look around as if hope hangs somewhere on the walls. And then when we don't find what we so desperately seek, we start to lose hope. These terrible unknowns loom over me, making me doubt myself, my capability. There's so many peaks that I want to see, but fear pushes me down, suffocating me. Terror, anxiety, uncertainty, shackling me down so I can't breathe. I want to break these walls. I want to be free. Is there no one here to encourage me? Encourage. A few words of encouragement, a genuine compliment. something that can help me climb out of this hole. I want to do it, but can I do it? Can it be done? And I see a rope just dangling in reach. So near, yet so far. My goal is all I see. So many closed doors. Are there any keys? I want to find a way out of this temple. Is there no one here to inspire me? Inspiration. Making you believe that you can reach the peak that you've always wanted to see. And you think you're ready, this is it, I'm on my way. But your empty bag flutters in the breeze. Thirst creeps up your throat. Hunger gnaws at you from inside. Thirst for knowledge, hunger for information. How do I climb this mountain? It can be done by me. One more step is all I need. A ray of light so I can see. Is there no one here to illuminate me? Illuminate, the last step to overcoming an obstacle. Encourage, inspire, illuminate. Welcome to Lumiere.
Thank you, Geeta. Born into a quintessential Bengali family in a small town in the Hooghly district of West Bengal, Sandipan Chattopadhyay was always a little different. His love for mathematics was birthed in a government school in Calcutta, where his teacher told him it was the only subject he wouldn't have to study. His early college days were spent in the Indian Statistical Institute, which is where he realized that whatever he did, the basic algorithm was presenting data in a way that everyone would understand. His time at IIM Calcutta further taught him that what was more important than solving a problem was simplicity. His love for statistics and his madness led him to do things he never thought he could. Today, he's the tech brain behind moneycontrol.com and even Just Dial's digital expansion. Along with two colleagues from Just Dial, he started Zeltmont Design and Tech Private Limited, which works with startups. It is also currently working on a government project titled Matir Kotha, which solves farmers' problems. Put your hands together and welcome our first speaker, Sandipan Chattopadhyay.
Good morning. Great to see spirited kings, and I'm here to essentially tell you the mistakes and things that I could have done without making the mistakes. I don't think anyone can tell you what to do in your life, but we can give you some indications as to what probably not to do in your life. So that would be the main thing on that part. This is what I do. I search for superheroes, and I try to see how they look at life, what they do with them, perspectives, help them on the way. And typically, this leads to a huge satisfaction in being able to solve problems. To me, superheroes are those who solve problems and make lives better for others. That's superheroes' jobs. So, you have the distinct advantage and disadvantage of being born with the one passport, but typically staying in two countries. One is India, which you are all from, mostly, and the other is Bharat. They're very different, and understanding the dichotomy is what leads to looking at inspirations for solving the problems. If we look at India, of course, we know all these things. It has its fifth largest army. Obviously, you know that we are the second largest, probably going to be the first, the top population country in another 5 years. And we have these things which we are aware of, but you know that we are the fourth largest railway system, not the largest, which we think is the largest, and we have a road system which is the second largest, which we think is always lesser. Sometimes things are contradictory, but it's there. Now, there is also another perspective of India, and the power of India is in the soft parts of what we are capable of doing, and what is the main force behind us. We have so many internet users, so it's poised for growth. It's actually second highest now after China. We have the best space organization, which is something that's far-fetched for a country where a lot of things are not right. How come our roads are bumpy and we are making the cheapest flights to Mangalyaan? Actually, there was this nice article which said that, 1 kilometer cost of an auto is more expensive than 1 kilometer of Mongolia. And that's a fact, because the amount of thing it traverses for the cost we did it was quite cheap. That's an indication of things which are there, that anecdotal things but pretty high, that we have this Tata Consulting Service, we have the third largest steel producing thing. Steel is fundamental to growth and to helping growth on that part. And at the same time, we have the 75% market share for diamond cutting. So which is quite dichotomic, right? We are not a rich country, but we cut the most diamonds. We have the most diamonds also, by the way. And we have the 5th largest capacity for automobile manufacture. Part of it is thing, but there is affluence also. There are stories that we don't read because we think what the media says or what we are taught is a be all and end all. We don't realize that probably we have gems hidden, which are much more quintessentially innovative than what we are made to understand. To me, Amul probably is the most innovative company ever and the most impactful corporate structure ever. It made farmers and milk dairy producers into corporate structure, cooperative citizens and shareholders of a corporate structure. It works on that one. But forget that. Forget what it achieved. No, stay on that. What it achieved. When Korean started it, the whole objective was that every kid has the right to a glass of milk a day. In the 60s, it was not as you can envision it. There was malnutrition. Only 40% kids used to get daily milk. Today, it's at a flattering 100% coverage, of course, and all these things. Each thing took an innovation, be it innovating the railway compartments with our kind of electricity, which would still keep the milk pasteurized and not go rot for the 4-5 day journey. Because at that time he set up his farm, everything was produced in Gujarat region and then trained to different parts of India. Once that stabilized and the supply was stabilized, he started creating franchises all over India. And all this Nandini that you see, or the Horinghata in Bengal, they are all replicas of that model and propagated all across India. That's phenomenal. To me, this is the best company in the world ever, because it gave back faith to a lot of people who are not empowered. It gave back fundamental rights to kids who are not getting that. And mostly, it sustained and created some brilliant acts of creativity. So it showed that something that is very fundamentally quintessentially from the ground can still be of superb nature. That confidence is there. Similarly, I also have a view that the best software ever written in the world has been the Indian Railway Reservation System. We don't celebrate those things enough. But think of it. It gave back the sense to every citizen that you have a right to buy your own ticket without going to a tout. It may not sound much, but it's a big step. It gives back faith in your ability. It's a spine-building exercise for the whole country. And at a time when networks were not existent in India, this system used to work for the whole expanse of India. And it still had the intelligence of giving an old man a berth on the lower berth seat. Things we take for granted often hide the biggest things. That's exactly what superheroes do. They are Clark Kent during daytime and then they become Superman. So how much you can do succinctly, surrogately, and without fanfare is the expanse of that part. If you look at that, Indians are everywhere. I mean, some of you may not know some of the names here, but it's important to know. Do you know that the USB was created by an Indian? Or the first big mail solution that you see, which is a prototype of Gmail and all, was Hotmail, which was actually invented by an Indian and then sold to Microsoft. Or the fact that the fiber optics was also an Indian creation. In fact, if you look at the patents in space research in NASA, about 35% of the filing names are of Indian surnames. Let's not get into mnemonics, we lost them, brain drain, we deserve to lose them. Let's but think that what we are capable of achieving is limited by nothing. And that's the great thing of being this generation. We also have the youngest programmer of artificial intelligence, Tanmay Koshi. I'm not a big fan of those sort of a celebritization of intellect. I think he should be stabilized in his mind, made much more rustic and solve real problems and this enjoy PR jingman. But at the same time, it is worth celebrating, so we should take note of that. The first one, of course, all of you know, Satyanayal, Sandipan Pichai. Virtually in the last 7 years, we have seen a transformation where I think about 35% of CXOs of the Fortune 500 companies are of Indian origin or Indian descent. They're slightly different, but that's how the thing is. So we are poised for great things. It sounds absolutely stunning, right? Put in perspective that we are also 20% of the world, it's not that stunning. It's actually underachieved. So you have a lot of scope to do. What's great is that the last 10 years has been a great second degree acceleration. We are doing better than ever before. But we have not yet reached a point where we can say that we are getting our due to the world and giving our due to the world. Next slide. So why do we need superheroes? Can you change the slide? We have a lot of problems. Lots of problems. These are the viruses inside. We have homeless people. We have people below poverty level. People we are living in a polluted environment. A huge amount of brain drain. We can't keep up with their talents. Lots of problems. You need superheroes to come and solve those problems. We rank 9th in the most polluted category. So who are the superheroes? This is my perspective. Of course, all of us, we should have our own definitions of superheroes. So, how can you be one? My way is, the real superheroes of India are the entrepreneurs. Because they create jobs, they solve problems, they innovate, they push. That's my way. Everyone is a superhero who does great for humanity. That's the one I focus on. And that's the one I can talk about because that's what I know. I don't know other stuff. Now what happens is, solution and problem are never definitive. It's always a cycle. You keep on improving. The entire thing of improvement is about progress. The overall thing is, if there's a problem, there is a serendipity. You somehow, I believe in this soft terms, it's not a process. You arrive at a problem and you think that you are the one who is going to solve the problem. That faith, that repose, that confidence is what serendipity is. It needs a huge amount of empathy, not sympathy. The choice of word is very important here. You should not think you're superior if you want to solve a problem. You have to solve the problem being in the shoes of the person facing the problem. I'm an educated person. I know what they should do. They should listen to me. Is not the right approach. The right approach is, can I be using my intelligence in education to understand from his perspective what his sense of the problem is? That's a fun. That's a puzzle. That's a riddle we need to solve. To me, these are the superheroes for me. I mean, that's a small list, but yeah, and I'm very, very proud that I've worked with at least 7, 8 of them on the screen. And that's what you should look forward to. Working with great people. Working with complete sense of solution orientation and not personalization of glory. These are the things that make superheroes. These guys went ahead and did solutions. They believed it, not knowing whether they'll make it. And behind each face here, there are probably 10 equally talented faces which never made the screen. But they are the reason why these people could come on the force. So somewhere the country, an individual have to go ahead. You have to go ahead knowing that I have a 90% chance of failing, but unless I participate and do it, the 10% chance of people succeeding is going to go off. Someone will succeed and the problem will be solved. It's far more important than who will solve it and who gets it. This is where you come in, and this is why I am here, to get that interest. Next slide. This is going to be the future. You are the future. Now, not all of you will end up being superheroes, but all of the superheroes will come from you. Because the next set of superheroes are currently between the 13 and 17-year-old. They're in their 8th to 12th standard. And these are the superpowers that you will need to solve the problems of your country and become the superheroes. I don't need to read them out, they're very classic. But you need to have them. I would focus on things which are not written here later on, but just to put the perspective on. These are the ways people are changing the world. There's massive problems in these. We call these the first problems of our country. There are other problems, but this is the biggest problem. HEAL. H-E-A-L. Health, education, agriculture, livelihood. Livelihood is very important. Agriculture is important. We must understand we need to eat. We need to give employment to our people. Then only progress will happen. Health is of paramount importance. We have to get access to medicine, health assurance to every citizen. It's a right. I should not be predestined to be healthy just because I was born into a rich family. It should be a right that we have to give to all our poor citizens. And that's the duty that we have. It's very important to give dignity back. Why is it that everyone feels that I must move from a small town to a large town to succeed? Why do we have that penchant? It's because of the lack of infrastructure, but mostly because of the lack of respect we feel in doing something which is slightly offbeat, or slightly off the main focus of that. If we don't solve these problems, we have a major problem coming up. Of course, these are the main things which are also needed to create that support for the first part. We need to have a great infrastructure of finance tech. Manufacturing is very important. We are losing our manufacturing edge and we are becoming dependent too much on foreign manufacturing. Be it cost factor, be it factor of trained manpower, whatever be it. You have to solve these problems. We have left it for you. We have, in some ways, pardon the expression of language teachers especially, we have gone and screwed it up. You need to go and unfix it for us. Otherwise, we have a big problem there. There are going to be things where we need to be at par with the big cities which stay competitive. We need to work on these fields also, smart cities and stuff like that. Retail is going to be a very important factor. Retail means distribution, access to goods, equality. That's the biggest problem. We have a democracy which works. It's something we should not complain about, but it is not yet as equal as it should be or is charted to be. That's what we should work for. Ultimately, you have to understand your success depends on what you're able to do, contribute to the success of others. We are taught very differently for obvious reasons. 5 jobs, 6 jobs. One trick which is that you have to understand in life, next slide please, is that these are the changes you can bring about. Aren't these amazing? Look at the history. 1927, 2008, states. 1927 and 2008, they could create 1.1 million. And they could. Why? Because they empowered a lot of people and didn't say, I'm going to build it all. That's the biggest difference. That's how they did it. This guy created employment for 4 lakh. In 7 years now, they have created for more than 40% that head. On an established name versus a new brand coming up. Being able to empower others is the greatest achievement of a superhero. Protect them, do for them, and to empower them. Why do you do it? Nothing else but this. Remember one thing. For you, a lot of things may come out that everything is about bank balances and money, but it's because you are not able to quantify something called respect. At the end of it, all of us work for respect. In the absence of our criteria or ability to understand and value respect, we start taking a very objective thing like money or achievement or car you drive as a sense of a mark of respect. It's not necessarily so. You may be an unknown and no one knows you in the public media, but maybe the most respected man when you go to a village because you know you have improved their life. And you, when you are self-sufficient in yourself, can survive with that without getting into a rat race. These are the thoughts I want to leave with you because the huge hopes are there. Mistakes we did in our generation was everyone had to be an engineer, doctor. Anyone doing anything else was not good. When I first said that in 97 that I want to start a business, my dad, who is educated and all, and really a cool guy, said, after studying and educating yourself so much, we spend so much effort, you're going to do business? It's such a dirty thing. That's the attitude we have to say. We have to say that we will go ahead and solve problems and make sure that we are doing the right things. You know, a much conducive environment. Today we are fostering and encouraging entrepreneurship. That's a great sign for a country. You're born at the right time. Grab onto the opportunities and do things. This is what you need to work for. You look for your survival, which is the first basic instinct. Of course, you need to survive. You need to provide for your things, for yourself, for your family. You securitize that. Then you are in a position or in the stability to give love and to do for others. Then you earn respect. And finally, that's the part most people don't reach. It's the pinnacle of your own self-realization and actualization. You know you have reached your maximum potential in a very personal feeling. That's what entrepreneurs do. They strive for that pinnacle. And that's what I want to encourage all of you to think of. By the way, when I say an entrepreneur, you don't need to start a company. I mentioned the cases of Amul. I mentioned the cases of Indian Railways. They were not entrepreneurs in the traditional sense. They didn't start a business. Entrepreneurship is a mindset of innovating, of being helpful to people, of solving a problem. You can do it anywhere. And it's not a point of time. You're not an entrepreneur just because your company is 2 years old. You can be a 100-year-old company and still be entrepreneurial. Any company which has survived for more than 100 years, the IBMs in the world, or look at an Apple, look at the thing, they have reinvented themselves. Any company which survives is bound to have innovated, the Unilevers of the world. Otherwise, they could not have survived. You have to respect that. You have to know that it's not just about cool young kids, it's also about the spirit of innovation. And incidentally, an Unilever innovating something which makes a detergent 5% cheaper and makes it cleaner and less environmentally damaging has more impact, though it may not be covered so much, than some cab company going and doing a fair and getting some things. So you must understand the impact and the real dimension of it. Next slide. So is it worth it? Go ahead. These are the problems. It's a blue pill, red pill. All of you see Matrix? I hope so. Okay? No? It's too old? Okay. So, there are high risks, it's difficult, but it does change the world. That's on the pro side. Blue pill is nice. It's very comfortable, it's low risk, relatively easy. Not everything is relative here. I'm not saying it's easy, it's relatively easy. And it exists. It's not something of, you have to make your choices. Or whatever you do, you can still be an entrepreneur, irrespective of whatever you want to be. Entrepreneurialism and being an entrepreneur are different. So you can be both. Next slide. So what will the future look like? These are the things that I said, health, education, we just roughly talked about. It's up to you to find the answers and processes. I don't have slides beyond this, but I'm going to talk about certain things which I want to live with you and then look at that part. I want to focus on two things, which is how the things that we miss out in school. Your team is the most important thing. When you go out to work, you will only be as good as your team. Learn how to build teams. I love the fact that you students are coming out and doing events like this. Because apart from everything I was talking to teachers, that's the best thing you have learned. When you do a project work as a team, and when you solve a real problem as a team, it's very different. That's very chartered, you're just doing your duty and getting off. It's still a job. But when you solve an unknown problem as a team, you really go beyond that and you start understanding dynamics. That's very important. Second most important thing is have empathy. Make sure that you're inclusive. You are from a very privileged lot. Your paradigm and dimension of failure is nothing compared to what real failure means in the real world. For you, a failure is not able to get a 12,000 rupee job versus a 10,000 rupee job. I'm obviously joking, it's much higher, but just a comparative. For someone, the failure is, I'll not be able to feed my family for the next 3 months if this crop doesn't grow. Be sensitive to that. Your failures, anyone's failures are treated. First is, wipe that word off. There is nothing called failure. You either learn or you succeed. Failure is just another way of learning. That's it. I have nothing else. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Am I done too fast? Any questions? I guess not. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for addressing the gathering and inspiring all of us. We will now be streaming an official TED Talk.